Well, hey everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are back together. It's been a few days. I was trying to squeeze everything I wanted to say about Jakes and Toure into one episode, and y'all, I was causing myself a headache trying to say this and that, and I thought, yeah, let's not do this. I'm filming everything on Sunday, July 26th, so I'm going to make two separate episodes. I plan to have them both up at the same time. So on this episode, we're going to focus solely on Toure, and then the next one, we're going to focus on Jakes. I kind of felt like today when I was watching the live streams. You know how you feel when you're watching a movie and you can see the person who's about to commit the crime, right? Let's just say Johnny's about to rob Mary, right? But you are sitting at home, right? So you can see Johnny talking to his friend about what his plans are. Mary has no clue, right? She is so innocent and so naive. And you watch him, get his bandana. You watch him get his black clothes on. You watch him turn the lights out. You watch him break into Mary's house and he's stowed away in the bathroom. And then you see Mary come home. She's on her cell phone, happy-go-lucky, has no idea Johnny's in the back, right? And you watch him commit this crime on Mary. I kind of felt that way today when I was watching these services. The reason I give such an extreme example of what I liken it to is because that's what it is when you're about to you're about to ask people for a lot of money. So these people, they're so manipulative. They start from the top of their sermon using scriptures and using a subject title that's priming the people. I came from the old school when we used to have those outside faucets where you have to prime the pump. I know some of you young folks don't know what I'm talking about. Let me just relate it to something you young ladies can relate to. Before you put on your makeup, you put on your makeup primer, the base, right? You're getting your face ready for all the makeup that you're going to put on to carry you through the day. That's what these people do when they're manipulating these crowds of people. The whole sermon from start to finish is all about money. So they start talking about something, setting the people up, setting them up. Then they get them highly emotional. And like Jake said last Sunday, now I'm going to take you from excitement to execution. You see, sometimes when people are about to rob us, they tell us they're about to rob. Really unfortunate how naive some of these people are, and that it doesn't even take a lot, for them to be twisted and turned into these manipulative states, and it's really sad. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about Toure. So don't forget that everything you're listening to me say are my personal opinions of what I'm saying publicly. Don't let me do your thinking for you, okay? Don't think these are facts just because I sound matter-of-factly. And I know some of you have been telling me, this YouTuber and that YouTuber, all they do is parrot what you say. I can't help if people aren't doing their own thinking for themselves, okay? My issue, as long as they don't play my voice on their channel, I can't help that they're parroting my opinions. Listen, there is a lack of creativity everywhere, okay? But the bottom line is, don't let nobody do your thinking for you. Don't walk away from here saying, oh, that sounded like the truth, so it must be. No. So today, when Toure was out there in LA talking to the folks, Stephanie was there. They have a few other pastors, for those of you who aren't familiar with their services there, even though they kicked Stephanie Okafor over earlier this year. They've got Ebenezer, they've got Charlie, they've got a few, but Anita is the one who's leading the church, at least for now. But Toure let slip that something's going to be happening in September. Those of you who follow politics, the October surprise. Remember, Ronald Reagan's campaign manager made that phrase popular back then. The election was going to be in November, and, your enemies, everybody's projecting who's going to win, and then you just throw something out there. Maybe somebody sent you, oh, he cheated on his wife or she cheated on her husband, and so you release that information in October. It becomes the October surprise. Well, it seems to me, y'all, that there's going to be a September surprise. Listen to what Toure was saying. And when I say listen, I'm not going to play any audio clips. I'm just going to tell you what he said. You can go find his sermon or his sermonette, because he was supposed to just be praying, going somewhere. But you can find it on One Church LA's website and YouTube channel. He starts telling the people, y'all, that there's a restructuring coming. I want you to listen to the words, the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives that he used. I was talking to you about watching Johnny get ready to rob Mary. You see, the setup. He talked to them about restructuring of the church and realignment. And then he started naming off some of the pastors. Ebenezer's doing a good job, Stephanie. Because remember, they just installed Stephanie, y'all, earlier this year, February of this year. So Stephanie has not been the lead pastor for long. Excuse me, not Stephanie. Anita. That's what I'm trying to say. Anita Phillips. She hadn't been the lead pastor for long, y'all. But already he's telling the people. Now, mind you, we're just in July. So why are we telling somebody about something in September unless things have been in the works already? So he starts telling them about there's a restructuring. Our church is evolving as a structure. And we're going to be talking about realignment. He says we're about to go into a renaissance. And if any of you know what a renaissance is, you know. That just means some changes are coming. Some leadership and structural changes. And then he says to them, this is going to be really, really important because, especially when we get to September. So what's going to happen in September? What's going to be the September surprise? Let's connect this to Jake's overall. So remember, we've been talking about in our community that obviously, just from all outside looking in, there is a different succession plan in process and in progress. What that is and what it's going to look like, we don't know. But what we do know, okay, is that just a year ago, he turned things over to Toure and Sarah, and it just didn't go as planned. It just didn't. It's been one headache after the other, okay, culminating in her breaking her neck, according to them, and her being down. And then Jake's health on the decline, right? He's not 1 foot in the grave, it doesn't appear, but definitely, especially if you even saw his sermon today, the way he moves different. And yes, we know he's older, but I like for people to quit trying to put everything off on old age. When you have been around older people, you know that not everything is age. Some things are health. Sometimes people's way of living has simply caught up to them, right? And we know the body keeps score. And, when you get older, you can't do and, you can't eat the way you ate in your 20s. Any of you guys learned that? I learned that. You can't eat. You can't not exercise. Maybe you can get away with it in your 20s and 30s, but when you get older, your body requires different things, right, to continue to stay strong. And so I think what I see, of course, I'm not his doctors or his nurses, but from what I see, it's just Jake's lifestyle caught up with him. And now he's paying the price of a heavily stressful lifestyle. It all comes back. And so he's obviously not the man he was even last year, guys, even 6 months ago. Okay. And so we know that there is a different succession plan in process. When Dexter preached, he said certain things that again, kind of like Toure's restructuring words, saying to the people we're about to realign, and it's going to be really important as I talk to you about this as we get ready for September. So something's going on, and it very may connect to whatever the overall plan is for the main campus in Dallas. But one of the things about Toure that's different than Sarah and her father is that Toure doesn't know how to keep his mouth closed. And see, he let this slip today. When you go back and listen to his little sermonette at the end, he let this slip. He wasn't supposed to say this. He wasn't even supposed to be saying any of the things he was saying, actually. He was supposed to be praying going on. But you see, when you just got to be in the limelight, when you just miss it so much, right? When you want people to know, I'm still the man, I'm the founder, I'm still in charge, so to speak. You sometimes the ego steps in there and you wind up saying things that you shouldn't say. But no October surprise, even in politics, no October surprise. Never do they give people a heads up. Right? Well, he gave the people a heads up today, and I'm telling you, it was not purposeful. It was very much a slip of the tongue. And so we're going to be watching what happens in September. And here's my thing, too, when I was watching the live stream. We're not July. What are y'all what are you talking about that's about to happen in September? It's not as if September is tomorrow. Y'all, September is 2 months away. And so at the end of the day, we have not been wrong, those of us who've been surmising and opining on some change going on with the Potter's House. Remember, One Church LA was folded into the Potter's House when Toure became a part of the family, okay? So whatever changes happening over there are still coming from the head, okay? The next thing I want to talk about in terms of Toure is, y'all remember Toure's book tour, right? That seemed to end very abruptly after his Be Simone podcast, right? Where now we know that these episodes were filmed, I suppose, days, maybe a week or so earlier than when they were published, right? But remember, it kind of stopped abruptly, and it seemed to coincide with Sarah's accident. Well, in his little sermonette today. Again, he was just supposed to be praying and sitting down. The message had already come forth. Toure talked about the fact that he lost momentum on his book tour. And when he tried to restart it again, in essence, people just weren't responding. And guess what he's doing? He's turning that into a series, right? That people have to register. I thought, these people, my God, when you talk about making people merchandise, where you monetize everything. And then we know this is going to be a little book too, I suppose, because he told the folks, I'm giving it to you for free before I give it to the world. Well, all he means is you're not going to pay for it, but they're going to have to pay for it. It's like watching Johnny get ready to rob Mary. When you can see it from start to finish, it's very sad because you keep wanting Mary, don't turn the light on. Y'all know how it feels when you're watching a movie like that. Mary, look behind you, right? And that's how I feel when you watch these people in the crowd. It's like he's just setting you guys up. Can't you hear it? Can't you see it? And we all know it is easier to hear and see things when you're on the outside looking in versus being a part of the situation. But it's a really sad situation. So he talked about how, he told them that he was on his book tour. It was going well. This is what he told them. And then my wife, she injured herself. And so I had to come off my book tour, he told them, and basically attend to her. And he said, and then when she was up on her feet and seeing, everything, she was out of the woods, in essence, he went back to try to restart this book tour. And in essence, like I said, people just weren't interested. The way he said it was, I just lost momentum. And God was talking to him, he said, about the fact that you had lost momentum. And it's really sad that he even sees it that way. Which is supposed to be more important, your wife or your book tour? Okay? Wife, and all he was doing was shopping his book around to church people. He wasn't shopping it to people in the world per se, because the people in the world don't need Toure's tired toe-up advice, okay? I have a problem with people who don't have real world skills. All their supposed, prosperity came from just church folks. So, okay, you can make it work in the church by simply manipulating people out of their money. But have you been able to go out there in the in the real world, and make all these supposed principles work? That's when you know it's real. But if it only works in-house and you're going to all your friends' podcasts, right? So each is scratching the other's back. They're going to get numbers, clicks, and views, and you're going to get maybe a few books sold. Yeah, that's not real success, y'all. How they used to talk about one way to test the prosperity gospel is take it over into some of these third world countries and see if it'll work. And one of the things you notice is you never saw any of these people, whether it was Creflo, Jakes, Kenneth Copeland, none of them. They never went and preached that stuff. When I said third world countries, make sure you understand what I mean by that, right? They never made it work over there. Why? Because, when you're just making people merchandise in the church building, that's not the same as it being a real principle that actually will work in life. No, it's just manipulating people out of their money. So as I get ready to let you go, something's going on. September seems to be the month that things are going to be displayed. What exactly they are, who knows? I think the best thing is for Toure to stay out, where he is, stay in LA and continue pastoring. But if that's the case, what's going to happen to Anita? So what shift is going to happen in their leadership over there? He's not just going back over there, y'all, consistently for no reason. It's just kind of like what Jakes was doing today. Jakes told the people last Sunday, we're in a season of giving. We're going into a season of giving, which all that means is there are some big bills coming due. I need to make sure we can make those bills, those payments. And so guess what? Y'all going to be seeing me, because Jakes can get money out of people, whereas those other people can't, but he can, because there are some people who still believe in him. They can't see God's hand has been off of it for a long time now. They can't see it, right? And so they still will respond to him, and he knows that, right? But it's no different than what's happening over there with Toure now. Exactly what is going to be happening in September that he's priming and getting the people ready for now, all the way in July. I want to encourage you, if you're listening to me, if you are trying to find a church, You know, I think it's a major decision, and you need to involve many people in on that decision. And one of the probably the best things to do is to get someone who's not churched to visit the church with you. See, they'll be able to see things that you, or if it were me, aren't able to see. If someone's manipulating, if someone's taking advantage, if someone's priming the people, getting them ready to be taken advantage of, you know, basting the turkey, so to speak, they'll be able to see that. Again, as I said earlier, it's easier to see something when you're on the outside looking in versus being a part of it. It's really sad, y'all. It's sad how they're setting these people up. And I wonder, can people not ask any questions? Can people not say, well, you know, I heard you say on Sunday that something was going to come in September. What exactly is it? What's the restructuring that's coming? So we shall see exactly what happens over there, because Jake's is up now more consistently. And so we're going to have to see exactly what the restructuring is. And here's my thing too. Why is it September? Why is it not October? Why is it not November? Why is it not August? So September, no doubt, aligns with something financially for these people. Everything with these folks has to do with money. Every decision, everything has to do with money. And so whatever month they've chosen to display whatever changes, that aligns with something financial as well. And we'll have to see exactly what that is. Those are my thoughts on Toure's little words today that he had to say at one church. The bottom line is he's getting the people ready for a change, just like we heard Dexter getting the people at the Potter's house ready for some change over there. I'm not going to go so far as to say that my opinion is that Dexter's going to be the pastor, the main pastor of the main campus. But what I am going to say is that he was on the stage today with his father. I don't mean on the literal stage. Well, he did get his jacket for him, but I don't mean he preached with him. I'm just saying he seems to me to be in the position of a student, that when his father's up, he's there and he's watching and he's learning, so to speak. He seems to be that he's in training of sorts. But I'll talk to you on the next one. Leave your thoughts about this today. If you were able to see Toure's little portion at one Potter's House Church, let us all know your thoughts. And again, what he had to say is widely available on their YouTube channel, and I'll talk to you on the next one.